some may not. Got it. And so you want to take a look at, number one, what is the cost? What is the academic requirement? Not only grade point average, but you might want to take a look at SAT and ACT test scores. Also, take a look at some of the wraparound services that some of these colleges and universities have that could be able to assist and make sure that you not only matriculate through those 4 years, but to come out successful at the end of that 4 year period. And so those are some of the things that you definitely want to start taking a look at. In addition to that, I know some people actually take not only AP courses, IB courses, but also dual enrollment, and which is a benefit to you. So I know for a fact that some students are doing dual enrollment. They come out of high school as either a second semester freshman or sophomore or going into their junior year. So there are some benefits to that. So you definitely want to start taking a look at the planning process. And also you definitely want to be able to formulate a good relationship with your counselor, because your counselor sometimes can be the, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Your counselor, it can be the gateway, could be the roadmap, depending on whether you're successful or very much or not at all. So you definitely want to keep that open relationship and good communication with your guidance counselor, because your guidance counselor knows a lot of things as it relates to helping you not only get into college, but also supplying that scholarship opportunity for college. So kudos to the guidance counselors.
I think that's definitely some great information, Zarek. So in addition, y'all, to doing the college research, you also want to do research on yourself. So trying to figure out during 9th and 10th grade, like, who are you? Like, what are you passionate about? What are you interested in? And so some ways to kind of get into those interests is by joining different extracurricular activities. So clubs, organizations, whether it's in school or out of school, doing community service. So most high schools, that's not a graduation requirement. However, that might open opportunities for scholarships as well. And then also trying to do different career explorations. So I don't know if you're familiar with like doing a career interest inventory, where you type in different interests. It tells you what career fields align with your interests. And that can help to tailor what potential majors you may go into for college. And so that would be my 3 biggest thing, is like really learning who you are by engaging in community service, extracurricular activities, and career exploration.
Yes, I was actually going to say that as well, because a lot of students, they decide on one major going in, and then when they get to college, they decide later, that's not something that I really want to do. So I would definitely encourage you all to, like she said, do some discovery of yourself, deciding what you like to do. And I would also encourage you to shadow professionals in the area that you're interested in. If you're interested in the medical field, maybe reach out to some doctors or nurses that work at UF Health to see if you can shadow them and actually see what a day looks like in the life of a nurse, a day in the life of a doctor. You may get there and decide, oh, this is not for me and I want to do something else. And you can save a lot of time and money just by reaching out and networking with professionals in your field. And also, I encourage you all to network with students. So of course, in your high school, seniors that have just graduated and they're actually preparing to attend college, or some who are already there. Reach out to them and ask them about their experience in college to see what did it take for them to become successful in college? What courses did they take? What activities did they participate in? And then even what scholarships were available to them? What community organizations were they active in that supported their journey along the way as well?
Yes, I definitely want to reiterate. I apologize, Mr. Jones, go ahead.
No, sir, go ahead.
I want to reiterate your point, Mr. Jones, on procrastination. That is a very big thing that you should start getting kind of rid of during high school. You can start preparing that in freshman year and kind of just trying to get that out of your system, because once college comes, there's no time to procrastinate. You have all these deadlines you have to start meeting in your senior year when you're applying to colleges, and deadlines do matter. So definitely I want to reiterate that. And also with the career exploration and trying to find out your interests, it's okay if you don't necessarily know it at the time in high school. Like Mr. Willis said, in college, people are still changing their majors constantly. So it's definitely okay to not completely know what you want to do yet, but you can definitely start thinking about what you want to do, joining those extracurricular activities, taking classes that you might be interested in. So yes, definitely those are great things to start doing day one in high school.
Absolutely. And just to be, you guys said something that was very key as far as shifting majors and degree programs. I'm gonna tell you what some of the disadvantages for that, because I've seen it from front row page. So we had a lot of students that actually went to college and said, yes, I want to like to major in, I don't know, biology, things of that nature. And by the end of their sophomore, junior year, they switch into something totally different. And that means you have to start completely all over again. That means more financial aid, and you've wasted a year or 2 years of your life when you should have been focusing on the actual degree that you really actually was there and designed to actually pursue. And so I definitely encourage students, find out, I think somebody said, identify what your purpose is. Once you realize what your purpose is in life, go for it.
Thank you for that. So the next question was, if I'm a junior or senior, how can I prepare? But you all hit a lot of good points for juniors and seniors. Any other additional comments or how they can prepare, just specifically juniors and seniors?
PSAT, ACT test scores, definitely. Also start taking the opportunity to actually go and tour some of these college campuses. I know a lot of times during the summer, there are a lot of clubs and organizations that actually tour the state of Florida, partly, HBCUs or PWIs. And so just to be able to go and take a look at some of these institutions of higher education and be able to ask those questions, not only from the admissions council standpoint, but also be able to talk to other students and be able to get their feedback concerning their college experience.
I would also say be mindful of your GPA, not just a GPA overall, but when it comes to your core academics, because a lot of people don't realize when you're applying to college, the colleges really look at those main core subjects. So if you don't have at least a 3.0 in those subjects, and that's the admission requirement, then you're kind of in a dilemma now because you're not meeting the admission requirements. So definitely be mindful when you're researching the schools, what are their admission requirements? And also when it comes to those core subjects. So be mindful of your math, your science classes. Those are very key courses that of course you take in high school. And so just be mindful that that's not a subject or a class that you want to blow off and maybe kind of focus more on electives because you're junior, senior, you thinking maybe I could just coast my way on out of high school. No, every course is important because that GPA, it speaks for you on your application.
Ms. Willis, you took the words exactly out of my mouth. So I was definitely about to talk about your grades. GPA, doing your college research, Big Future on College Board is a great resource to look up information about colleges. It even tells you what is most important to those specific colleges as far as what do they consider in the application process. But most of the information requirements you can find on those colleges' admissions pages as well. And I do want to emphasize, you want the summer before going into senior year, you want to start being able to narrow down your college list. Most college applications will open August 1st going into your senior year. And so as Anthony mentioned earlier, those deadlines, your senior year, they come quick. And it's not like you're in regular school where, if you're a day late, your teacher may give you a few points off. Colleges do not work that way, baby. If that deadline is November 1st at 11:59, please do not wait till that night to try to submit it, because we have seen technical issues happen. And then after that, there's no saving. So making sure you're mindful of those deadlines, create a system to be organized. I'm a very big spreadsheet person. I love spreadsheets to help keep me organized. So even for like today, I was working with kids on scholarships and we had a spreadsheet as well as far as the name of the scholarship, how much is it worth? What are the requirements for that scholarship? What is the deadline? So figure out a system that works best for you so you can remain organized as well. And then one more thing I want to hit is building relationships. Zarek talked about that earlier about building relationships with your school counselors, but you also need relationships with your teachers because they are the ones who write your letters of recommendation. So you want to make sure that they are able to speak highly about you. So yeah, so that is just what I have for that.
Yes,
I just
I
wanted
would.
to insert a little tidbit also with the deadlines with Florida A&M. The early admit deadline is November 1st, but that's to be considered for scholarships from the university. So in order to meet that November 1st deadline, you actually have to have your application in by September 30th. October 15th at the latest to make sure that it gets in enough time and gets reviewed and you get accepted into the university, because they don't offer scholarships to students until you're fully accepted into the universities. So as she stated, it's very key to pay attention to those deadlines and stay organized. I love planners. Planners are my go-to. Kind of jot down your deadlines and set goals on each week, what you want to work towards to complete that goal.
Yes, Ms. Willis, I was gonna agree with you. I have my planner right here and it stays live. So definitely get a planner. It helps you keep down everything you need to do and it makes sure you stay organized. I would also bring up SATs and ACTs. That's definitely something colleges also look at. Depending on your score, you're also able to get scholarships. So that money you could definitely get, with Bright Futures, you get it either all your tuition paid for or 75%. So definitely starting to study for the SATs and ACTs in your junior and senior year would be very, very beneficial if you want to get that free money.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And so we talked about preparing for college. Okay, so now it's time to apply. So we talked about grades being important, but is there anything else that's important for students to focus on when they're applying to colleges?
Writing essays. That's another key component of the application for college admissions, and students don't realize anytime you write an essay, it's important to have several eyes review it, because you don't want to submit something, even if it's for scholarships, you don't want to submit something that has several errors and things just showing that you kind of rushed through it, you didn't take your time. So it's important to also focus on writing a very good essay and be sure whatever the prompt is that they give you, be sure that you answer that question thoroughly.
In most colleges, they do a holistic review. So as Felicity was saying, it's not just about GPA. It's not just about test scores. As Ms. Willis added, your essay, but they also are looking at your letters of recommendation. What are you doing outside of the classroom? So you can show that by extracurricular activities, community service. So they are taking a holistic approach. A lot of students are concerned, like, they'll say like, Ms. Farrell, my test scores aren't the best, or I don't meet that certain threshold. So if you find yourself weak in one of those areas, make sure you're building up another area on that holistic approach as well.
I will also say that it's very vital to establish a connection with your admissions counselor. One thing we have to realize is that admissions counselors receive thousands of applicants every year. And so it is important that you establish a connection and relationship with your admissions officer. That way they can be able to identify you. And once you be able to identify you, be able to get some type of understanding of where you are as an applicant. And once you provide that and you're consistent, that admissions officer is going to remember who you are. And best believe sometimes, and I'll be honest with you, John Doe called and said, "Hey, Mr. Jones, matter of fact, your application just came right across my desk." And so you establish that relationship with them just to make sure that you keep that effective communication and let them know that you're consistent and persistent. That pretty much puts you above the rest. And so I would definitely encourage any high school senior that's getting ready to cross that threshold to the institution of higher education to be able to make sure that they establish communication and effective relationship with their admissions officer.
Zarek, would you say that demonstrated interest is an important factor for college admissions reps?
Absolutely. I remember whenever we went to the NACAC, and of course we had several students actually applying, but those that actually brought not only they brought their transcript, they brought their test scores, they asked questions, they had a genuine interest in the institution. They made sure that they applied, and they took my business card, and we communicated at least once or twice a week. And so that sets you apart from everybody else. It really does.
To reiterate what Ms. Farrell was saying earlier, colleges do love students who are very well-rounded in high school. So not just, only having a high GPA, not only having now with high test scores, getting involved out of class, like Ms. Farrell was saying, joining those extracurricular activities, your volunteer community service hours. The more you kind of build those things and expand your interests and expand what you're doing, you become a very ideal target for colleges, and they are more likely to accept you.
Awesome. Okay. So many students have questions about the ACT and SAT. So how can they prepare? Where can they find resources? And what score should they shoot for?
So the scores are going to vary. It depends on what college or university you are applying to. So that you would have to find that information either directly on that institution's website, or you can use the Big Future, which is connected to College Board, and they will give you the average SAT scores. So that score is going to vary. There's something also called the Bright Future Scholarship. So they do have set test scores on the SAT or ACT, but as far as a goal to set, figure out what institutions you're interested in or what programs you want to be a part of, and see what their standard score is, and then that should be your goal. Khan Academy is a awesome program. It's an online program that offers free practice SAT tests. It gives you hints based on how you did on the practice SAT. So whatever questions you got wrong on the practice SAT, Khan Academy will then generate practice tests for you to help build those skills. So Khan Academy, KHAN Academy.org would be a great tool. And then ACT recently came out with their own ACT Academy as well. So those are two virtual platforms that I encourage my babies to use.
Awesome. So along with academics, how important is volunteering and community service?
It's brought to my attention that volunteer and community service is very essential, because especially whenever you're trying to apply for different scholarships, I believe the Florida Bright Futures, you have to have a certain amount of community service hours in order to be eligible for the Florida Bright Futures Scholarship. And so you definitely want to take the time to be able to implement as many community service hours as possible.
And I would say it's also key. Oh, sorry, you can go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm so sorry.
I was going to also say that it's key when applying for scholarships, that a lot of times the scholarship applications, they look for a well-rounded individual that not only does service in the community, but also shows leadership. So what leadership positions have you participated with in high school? Have you created any, clubs or organizations? Have you started any initiatives? What impact have you really had on the community is really key for a lot of organizations when it comes to investing funds in your education.
In addition to scholarships and in addition to for college purposes, I think it builds character for yourself. I think that it helps you grow as an individual. It helps you because you're going out to help somebody else in need. So I think that helps to build character. I think that it's an opportunity to really put yourself in someone else's position and to learn about the people, some of your peers that you walk through the school with every day. So I think also it's important just for you to learn how to grow as well.
Yes, and like what Mr. Jones was saying earlier, try starting your volunteer hours freshman year, so you're not waiting until the last minute. Your senior year, when you're already applying to all these things, you're studying for your test, that's already too much on your plate. So getting it out of the way, at the beginning, that will definitely save a lot of time for you.
And Ms. Farrell, I had another question. How are volunteer hours tracked? Is there a form? Does it go into focus? How are students tracking this?
So the process is going to vary by school. So each school probably has their own form or document that they are able to track those hours. I would encourage any grade level to speak with their school counselor, send an email. The resource is probably located on the school's website. I know we keep ours there. And so it just varies by the institution, but I do want to note that your total number of hours is indicated on your transcript. So when your transcript gets sent to colleges, they can see, okay, Shanika Farrell has done 50 hours, or Shanika Farrell has done 0 hours of community service. So make sure you are turning in those hours prior to you start sending out your transcript to your colleges and institutions.
Oh, what's a transcript? I know what a report card is, but I'm not sure what a transcript is.
That is a great question. So a transcript is a multi-page document with every high school course that you have taken. Some students start taking high school courses in middle school. So if you took Algebra 1 or Geometry or Biology in middle school, then those courses are listed on your transcript. So colleges are able to see the name of the course you have taken. They will know if it's a standard course, an honors course, an AP course, IB, or dual enrollment. They will see all of that information. They will also see your GPA. You have an unweighted GPA and a weighted GPA. They will see your class rank. It's a ton of information, and they will also see your test scores. So as Mr. Jones was mentioning earlier about your SAT and ACT, those scores, or any AP test that you've taken, all of those scores will be listed on there as well.
Awesome. Okay, so I have my volunteer hour. I have my test scores, my volunteer hours. So now I've applied, but I need money to go to school. How am I going to find the money?
I would definitely say financial aid is a great source. So FAFSA is what they call it, FAFSA. And for seniors, it opens on October 1st every year. And seniors should automatically, as soon as it opens, you should apply for it. And it basically gets your family's income money, the income information. And based on that information, the government will either give you loans, or they will give you grants, which is free money. So I applied for FAFSA, and they were able to give me money along with scholarships for my school. So definitely FAFSA should to apply every single year while you're in college too.
Like I used to tell my students, it's called financial aid, not financial pay for everything. So a lot of times we have to take out student loans. Oh, bless God. We have to take out student loans, and unfortunately we have to pay those back. However, start looking for other scholarships. Go to Barnes and Noble's Books of Me. There's a thick book on scholarships. Go to your guidance counselor. They have a plethora of scholarship information for you to be able to take and utilize. Also, go to the school or the university's website and see what type of academic scholarship that they are there. There's a plethora of scholarships. There's academic, athletic, fine arts, community service scholarships. There are scholarships through your church and organizations, fraternities, sororities. And so there's a variety of scholarships that are out there. Unfortunately, we live in a society where a lot of students don't like to write essays. Unfortunately, and because they say, oh, I got to write an essay, oh, that's too much. And so a lot of this money is returned to the company because the students don't take the opportunity to, number one, apply for it, and two, make sure that their essay is efficient and effective and grammatically correct. And once they do those things, they can be able to apply for the scholarship, earn it, and make sure they apply it to their financial aid, not financial pay for everything.
I think that that's definitely some great information. One thing I tell my students all the time, because like Mr. Jones said, they don't always want to write the essays, but a lot of the prompts are very similar. So you can use that essay and just tweak it a little bit. And also keep in mind, there's no such thing as a scholarship that is too small. I don't care if it's $100, $50, whatever the case may be, that $100 is going to cover a textbook. That $50 might be gas in your car, you know? So there's no such thing as a scholarship that is too small, but also just when you don't feel like applying to a scholarship, think about the life you want to live when you graduate college. Do you want to be 50, 60, still going back, having to pay loans? And at that time, there's a lot of interest that has occurred to that. So what kind of life do you want to live? So me, I'm working on my 3rd degree. I've never taken out a loan. I don't owe anything. All of my bachelor's, my master's, and so far my 2 years of my doctorate is paid for through scholarships. It's time consuming. Don't get me wrong, it's time consuming, but it's worth it because now I have more financial freedom because I'm not paying off any debt other than my mortgage, but you know, there's no loans for student loans. So even those days you're like, I don't feel like writing this essay, think about the life you want to live later on when you graduate with your degree.
And also with planning the financial part for college, I would definitely say when you do your research on the school, look at the financial piece of the education. You know, how much is this tuition? How much is it to live on campus? And start planning out those finances to see how much does it really cost. And you know, once you do your financial aid, if they grant you so much in loans and you decide, okay, I don't want to take out that many loans, then you know, okay, I really need to go after those scholarships. And that might motivate you to write that essay for that scholarship to avoid taking out loans when you can get a scholarship for maybe $1,000 that can cover a meal plan or it can cover a portion of your tuition. But definitely plan your expenses out. So do your research, try to see how much does it cost. You may want to go to an out-of-state school, but if it costs a great amount of money versus staying in state, you know, that's something you definitely want to look at.
Right. So, and on that point, what do you think is better, attending school in state or out of state? What do you think? What's your opinion?
So let me go ahead and chime in. Oh God. So from personal experience, I attended an institution of higher ed out of state and knew nothing about out-of-state tuition fee. And once I got to the business and finance department, they showed me the cost for tuition, books on campus. And my question to them said, okay, what's the problem? They said, this is in-state. So here's yours. And so I was like, wow, okay. All right, this is what we're gonna do, huh? All right, so unfortunately, I was granted the daunting task of paying out-of-state tuition fee without realizing why or why was that increase, things of that nature. And so I got a first one-on-one course, fresh course, as far as out-of-state tuition. When I tell students all the time, find the institution that best suits you, whether it's in-state or out-of-state. And if you go to out-of-state, you're going to have some out-of-state tuition fees. That's just the reality that we live in. If you go to a student that's out-of-state, is it private? That means they don't have out-of-state tuition. When we recruited in Chicago, we was able to recruit a lot of our students from the city of Chicago because basically we didn't have Edward Waters College didn't have an out-of-state tuition fee. And so that's how we were able to recruit. And so just finding out what financial resources are available, degree programs and classes are available, and like I said before, the wraparound services, because ultimately our objective is to make sure that every student matriculate through those 4 years and become successful at the end of that.
There are definitely a lot of factors that go into that decision, you know, considering how far you want to be away from home. Again, the in-state versus out-of-state tuition cost, which is a big one. So personally, I chose to go in-state. I stayed here in Florida, even though I'm as far away as possible from my home. But I was able to get that in-state tuition, which is amazing. So that's kind of where my decision was mostly based on where I'm going to get most money and where I'm going to be able to pay and finance my college.
Awesome. So we have to make the decision, in state or out of state. Okay. So I'm in college. I want to make sure that I am taking the required courses I need to take and that I am on track. What are some study habits or some best practices that, beginning college students could use to be successful?
So first, I would say to definitely meet with your advisor, your college advisor. An advisor is basically just someone who helps you figure out your requirements, what classes you need to take, when you need to take it by. I would definitely recommend going at least once every semester just to make sure you're on track and where you need to be. Your advisor will definitely become your best friend, especially as a first generation college student. I had no idea what requirements I needed to take, what classes, what direction I needed to go in. But once I met with my advisor, everything just became clear. So definitely your advisor is going to be someone who you need to have on your support team.
And I would also say your peers, for those students who are interested in attending Florida A&M, they have what's called a living learning community. So basically you are connected with a group of students who are in the same major as you, and you would live in the same dorm as them, you would have the same courses as them. So you basically become a community of students basically sharing the same goals and aspirations. So that's a really good thing that I love about Florida A&M, that they not only connect you to an advisor, yes, that's important as well. And then when it comes to your study habits and being more active in your classes, it's good to have peers that you're connected with, that you can use as a resource. When it comes to preparing for exams or studying for any type of material, you have someone that you can lean on as a peer.
That learning community sounds amazing. Like
It really is.
that sounds so amazing. Wow. In addition to that, one other thing I would say is don't be afraid to ask for help. So your professors have office hours that are listed on their website, the syllabus, whatever they use. So don't be afraid to send an email to schedule time to meet with your professor. In all of those fees that you pay for to a college, tutoring services are also part of that as well. So most colleges have a writing center, tutoring services available. So make sure you guys are asking for help. I know you might feel like a small fish in a big pond, but that's your money that you're spending on your education. So take advantage of all of that you have that is available to you. So as Mr. Jones said, those wraparound services, take advantage of everything that is offered to you.
Last point, I would definitely encourage you to connect. Like my colleague just stated, you definitely want to connect with your peers, because those are the people that you're going to formulate relationships with that are going to be future doctors and lawyers and principals and CEOs and architects and things of that nature. And so don't be afraid to connect, because I tell students all the time, you want to go to college for two things. Number one, for knowledge, of course, and two, connection.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. And in addition to, connecting with people, make sure you, like in high school, get involved on campus. Not too involved to the point where you're not focused on your studies, but you want to make sure that you are, like Anthony said, well-rounded, not only in high school, but as you become into a young adult. You want to make sure that you have those experiences. So in high school, our school starts at 7:10, 7:15-ish. So my first year of college, I am going to do all 8 o'clock class. I want to knock them out so I can go back home and go to sleep. Is that thoughts on that?
So, so yes, the schedule is very, very different than high school. In high school, you're practically in a school building from in the morning, 8 in the morning to say 3 in the afternoon. In college, you are basically working on your own schedule. You create your own schedule of classes, what time you want to take them. So if you're a morning person, you want to get them all out of the way, go ahead. If you want to do a little bit later in the day, that's fine. Personally, I took an 8 a.m. class in my freshman year, and never again have I taken an 8 a.m. class. So it's definitely up to you, whatever you feel most comfortable with. And then you can also choose how many classes you're taking. To be considered at least a full-time student, you need to take at least 4 classes, which is 12 credits. And you could take, usually schools may let you take up to like 6 classes, but they try not to make you take that many classes. They try to make you at least take 5 to kind of stay on track to graduate.
And, you know, my first year of college, I'm thinking about going in the fall, but summer seems a little bit more of a doable option. What do you think? Summer, fall, do you take a break? Do you go jump right into it after graduation? What are your thoughts?
I would definitely say take advantage of the opportunity if you can. One of the good things about the summer semester, there's less people on campus, so you have the ability to kind of get used to the campus when it's not as crowded. And then you also kind of get a head start on your college career. So by not only just your first summer semester, but any summer semester, it kind of helps you along your journey if you want to graduate early, or if you decide to double major. It kind of helps you to stay on track. I'm definitely I'm all for summer semesters.
I've also seen that for some colleges, the summer admissions requirements are slightly below the fall admissions requirements. So if you find that the typical GPA, you're slightly below that threshold, or SAT, ACT test scores, some colleges will accept you for the summer term versus the actual fall term. So if you fall within that category, that might be an option to consider to start in the summer as well.
Yes, it definitely is however comfortable you are. If you want to maybe take that summer to maybe get more volunteer experience or community service hours, or maybe, you know, have a little work experience too, then that's great. But me personally, I started in summer and I don't regret that decision. I believe it was 2 weeks after I graduated, I went straight to Tallahassee. And like Ms. Willis said, the campus is empty, so you have time to really explore it and get familiar with it. Not a lot of people there, so you're able to, yes, kind of get used to that culture first, and then once fall comes, it's, you know, easy sailing.
Awesome. So we have about 8 minutes left. So let's touch on athletes, sports. I guess, can playing a sport maybe give you an advantage academically, or, you know, how does that change your college experience?
Being a student athlete requires discipline, a greater level of discipline, as opposed to just being a student, because you're on a plan. You're a student first and an athlete second, and you have to come to that realization. What I think most athletes fail to realize is that they depend on their coaches to the point where grades, well, let me say this. It's about doing a job. You have to learn how to balance it. And everybody cannot balance being a student athlete. Some student athletes, they require practice 6 in the morning from 6 to 8. And then they have a 9 o'clock class. And then their class is from 9 to 3. And then they may have a lunch here and there. and then it's back to practice at 4 o'clock. So if you can learn how to balance both being a student and an athlete, I say go for it. But you also have to realize is that you have to be disciplined, you have to be focused, and you have to be consistent, because you can easily get lost. You can easily, as some people say, fall by the wayside, or easily get burnt out because you're not able to maintain and be able to balance being a student and an athlete. Being an athlete, it requires strenuous workouts, work. It requires going to practice, from running up and down a basketball court to running up and down a football field. So you got to be able to remember plays on the field as well as Pythagorean theorem in the classroom. So you have to be able to learn how to be able to balance both entities in order to become successful. I definitely encourage anyone that's a student athlete, like we said before, formulate those relationships, because those relationships will help stabilize you and keep you.
Thank you, Zarek. I think it's important to be intentional about your purpose, understanding I'm going to school for an education and I'm going to leave here with my diploma. So just being very intentional, understanding, I'm here for a purpose and I'm going to be successful, regardless of whatever comes my way. Thank you for reminding us of that.
You're welcome.
All right. So last question before we open it up to our students. What alternatives are there to four-year universities? Some students might feel like that's a little bit overwhelming. Are there some other routes to get a college education?
Yes, for Florida A&M, we have what we call the Ignite program, where you can attend FSCJ for 2 years, and then you're automatically admitted to Florida A&M. So some students who don't feel like they're ready to leave home just yet, or they didn't quite meet the admission requirements, you have that option to attend FSCJ. And we have a great partnership between the two schools that really supports the student along the journey. So, although you're an FSCJ student for the first 2 years, you stay connected with Florida A&M when it comes to activities and events and different things like that.
I think doing your research on, because as Ashley said, there are a large number of community colleges in the state of Florida that does that same pathway program, whether it's Tallahassee Community College to FSU, or if it's Valencia College to go to UCF, or FSCJ to go UNF. So there's different pathways with that. So community college is an awesome idea. Any vocational, technical trade school is an option as well. And we have some students who take a gap year. That is a percentage of our students that we are seeing. That percentage is increasing. However, I encourage my babies to make sure it's a meaningful gap year. Like, I don't need you just chilling at home. I'm trying to think, Miss Farrell, to figure out what I want to major in. Like, involve yourself in different programs around the city. Go on a mission trip or something. Use your time wisely to help further yourself and prepare yourself for when it is time to go to whatever post-secondary institution you decide to do after that gap year.
Okay, well, we're about 3 minutes early, just great. So at this time, we'll open it up for our students to ask questions. So you can feel free to come off mute. You can type them in the chat. So this is our Q&A time. All right, no questions yet? Wasn't sure. Okay, so I see Stanley raise his hand. Go ahead, you can come off mute, you can.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to share with everyone, there's 2 types of education. One teach you how to create, start, or develop a career, and the other teach you about living. And most important one, yes, get a college education, but learn how to live life. There's a lot of educated people out here, but they're educated fool when it comes to life. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think getting those experiences in college, with peers and being with organizations really help you learn about people and how, and like Stanley said, how to live. Thank you. All right, anyone else?
I just like to say that's not what I meant, but I put it in your chat.
Great, thank you. I did have another burning question. Dorms. How are those? Let's talk about dorms. Everyone is excited to leave home for the first time, but then they get to the dorm and yeah. So let's talk about that.
I can talk a little bit. So my first year, I stayed on dorms. I stayed on campus. There's definitely some advantages and some disadvantages. I would say some of the advantages include being on campus, so you don't have to commute a long way to get to class. If you don't drive a car, if you don't have a bike, being on campus will probably be a better option for you. And then I moved off campus. I'm currently off campus now, and I feel like I have a little bit more privacy. So that's, some dorms may require you to, have a roommate. You could choose, I believe some dorms you could choose if you don't want a roommate, if you want to live alone. So again, it's up to your preferences if you want to maybe live with somebody. My first year, I lived with my best friend from high school. So, definitely pros and cons, look into it, look at the prices of dorms, look at your pricing options for off-campus housing, and just kind of weigh in whatever you feel comfortable with.
I would say as a freshman, I would say live on campus your first year because you become more connected to the campus when you're first getting there. You meet a lot of different people and you create those relationships right off because you're living with the people. I know when I stayed in the dorm my freshman year, it was a floor of about 30 of us. So we would often do activities together. We would do like little girl nights and things. So it really helped us really connect beyond the classroom. And we even talk still to this day. I know a lot of freshmen are like, well, I want a car and I want to be able to do my own thing. But really a part of the college experience is living in the dorm. I'm telling you, it's one of the best experiences you will ever have in college. A lot of the people that you meet, when you graduate from college, like as it was stated earlier, these people become CEOs of different companies. And if you have that relationship with them, networking, you never know how that could turn out in the future. So I know some people say, well, I'm not too friendly. I'm kind of antisocial. I would definitely say try to work on that so that you can become more social and be open to meeting new people. And living in the dorm really helps you kind of come out of that shell, that bubble, living with others.
My mom made me live on campus. And like I had no choice. And her motto was that if you oversleep, it's quicker to get to class if you're on campus versus if you have to drive your car and then get there and park. And parking's usually pretty difficult. So my mom forced me to do so. But I loved it. As Ashley was saying, like truly, like I'm still in communication with a lot of my people from my freshman year of college. So it's a great experience. Because I came from from out of state, and I knew absolutely no one. So if I would have stayed off campus, I would have remained isolated. So as just echoing what has already been said, it is truly an amazing opportunity to involve yourself, learn, meet new people, and yeah, it's a great experience.
Awesome. I would say yes. Freshman year, definitely stay on campus. My bestest friend in the world today, I met her the second week I was at Florida State. So, and we lived in dorms right next to one another. And we can still talk about those memories to this day. So I would say stay on campus. You don't want to be worried about cars and parking your first year. And if The tickets are still, because you will get ticketed if you park in the wrong place. And if they're the same, they're probably higher now, but they were at least $25 every time you got one. So stay on campus, enjoy, and really, really make connections with those that are in your dorms. All right, and Yvette has a question in the chat. So how soon should senior students start filling out applications for college and FAFSA? Oh, Yvette, I see your hand raised. Did you want to speak?
Yes, I
Go
want
ahead.
to know, I have a 17-year-old getting ready to head off in 2022. I want to know, just to make sure we stay organized and stay ahead of the game, because I've seen a lot of seniors this past year fall behind and get into college because they did not start. They waited till after January to start doing paperwork. So I want to know, like, how soon, because I want to make sure I push her enough to get where she need to get without being, you know, kids get frustrated when they can't get what they need at the same time. So how soon could they start these applications right now, like for FAMU? Because yes, she's going to FAMU. And FAFSA, can you start now and like pause it and don't submit it to that time? Would that be a good idea?
Ashley, you gonna talk first?
I was gonna say, with the applications, yes, you can start now. Applications open on June 15th. So you can definitely start the application, and you can have your test scores, ACT, SAT, sent over to the university. Now, as far as FAFSA, I know it opens on October 1st. So you probably won't be able to start it and go back to it. You'll have to wait until October 1st.
So you're saying I can have kids to go ahead and start filling it in and wait to submit it because we're waiting on another test score to come in.
Yeah, she can start it now. She will create an account on the admissions site where she can save it and go back to it to finish it.
Okay, thank you.
If your student is considering maybe another institution, so not all applications have opened yet. Some applications may not open till August 1st. So it just depends on the institution, but I know FAMU is open. I know UNF is open as well. UNF is actually doing I'm not sure what they call it exactly, but it is early applications, like apply in July, where you can get your actual decision by the end of July. So that opening date will vary by institution, but you can find that information on that college's website.
Thank you.
All right, and I see that Stanley has a hand up.
Absolutely, yes. Old school. My point here, don't go to school for your mother, for your father, for your friends, for your cousin. Go to school for your passion. And it may not be the norm what most people go to school for, but I'm gonna say to young folks out here, go for your passion. If you embrace your passion for what you want to achieve in school and after school, visualize that and go because you want to go, not for your parents or anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you for that. As we were going through our questions, I just took a moment and I just looked at the survey the students responded to. And so it looks like majority of our students online have taken the college entrance exams and have seen their counselors about future plans and about future careers. I want to bring up mental health because I feel like that's not talked a lot. It's not discussed a lot amongst college students or even high school students. And so I wanted to ask, what support could students get on campus if they feel overwhelmed or they feel like they just need someone to talk to? Are there any support services that are there to help?
Yes, I know at Florida A&M, they have a counseling center there. It's covered under the tuition, so students can go there and have free sessions. They also have peer mentors, and they have academic coaches in addition to the academic advisors. So there's a a vast number of people there on campus to support the students. They just have to take it upon themselves to go and do the work that needs to be done. You know, if you're feeling anxious or fearful about something, I know sometimes coming away from home for the first time, some students aren't sure how to manage that transition, and it can be difficult for some students. But I would definitely say to reach out to the counseling center and just, you know, get the help that you need, because it's there for you.
Awesome, thank you. And I brought that up because I remember at FSU, they had a center where you could go, and I mean, they had so many amazing staff there, and it was such a, you know, it was great that students had access to those type of services. And so also, you know, health. You know, we talked about mental health, but what about physical health? So, you know, how, I mean, you know, college pizza, you know, soda, the diet's all over the place. What are some, I guess, strategies, and Anthony, you probably can answer this best. What are some things that our up and coming college students, what they can do to, you know, preserve their physical health?
Mhm. So definitely your diet will probably change a little bit once you get to college, especially if you move away from home and you're away from that good homemade meals. So definitely there's this thing, a concept called the freshman 15, where you would either gain 15 pounds your freshman year or lose 15 pounds your freshman year. So definitely, you know, watching what you eat. I believe their universities do have meal plans. So you would pay for these meal plans and you're able to go on campus to different dining locations and pay. You could also, you know, buy your own groceries. And this kind of goes with budgeting too. So making sure, you know, you're allocating certain money for certain things. So you could go to your local grocery store and just get, you know, try to get healthy things. You don't want to be eating, you know, junk food 24/7. It might be, to me, that was an easy thing to do when I first got to college. You know, you want to be free, you want to have that freedom, you're away from your parents, so you're like, oh, I can eat whatever I want. But definitely try to steer away from that, you know, try to start eating, try getting healthy foods, try, you know, learning how to cook maybe, you know, so they'll definitely be careful and watch what you eat.
Awesome, thank you. Did anyone else have a question? I know I kind of stepped in.
Well, I'd like to say this. I'd like for everyone to think about this. Who you select as your partner will define you. And I'd like for you to think about what I'm saying. So the choices that you make, who you are around, the things that you do define you. Thank you.
And Tia also had a question in the chat.
Yeah, I was wondering where can students get support when they're trying to apply to college if they're not sure what they should be doing?
Their school counselor. So like me, so this week, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we are hosting a Rising Senior Summer Boot Camp for all of our seniors. So we have 100 students that have come, and we've worked on the different pieces of the application process, but we do workshops throughout the school year as well. Not to toot our own horn, beep, beep, but our program, our school counseling program is pretty top notch at Douglas Anderson, but I'm not sure what school for you, but just check with the school counselor, make an appointment with them, come in with a prepared list of questions, and they'll be able to guide you. We have a whole book list of college admissions contact information. So if the student has a specific question about FAMU, now I know I can reach out to Miss Willis or whoever else is the point of contact. So I would definitely say the school counselor is, as Derek said, the keeper of knowledge. We have so much information and resources available, but a lot of times students don't come and ask the questions. So, but yeah, so just make sure you go to the school counselor to ask questions, or if you have a specific question about a college application, you can ask the admissions representative for that specific college.
Awesome. And Matthew has a question in the chat. All right, so it says, when students get accepted to multiple colleges, how should they go about choosing the right school? Oh, that's a big one.
So, Ms. Sprague, you to say something? I saw you unmute really quickly.
Go ahead, Anthony. I'll bounce off of you.
So for me, I personally always knew I wanted to go to FSU, but I did apply to other colleges just in case. I would say, one, take into consideration, again, you know, the location, if how much they're giving you money. So colleges, once you get accepted, they will usually send you a financial aid package, kind of detailing the amount of money you would be receiving. So kind of just comparing with the other schools, you know, how much money you're getting, that's definitely something you should consider, because you obviously would want to go where you don't have to pay as much. You know, try to steer away from having to take out any money from your pockets.
So definitely money is always a hot topic as far as a factor to consider. But then also, if you had the opportunity to actually visit the college, like which one felt like home for you? I know with COVID now and this senior class, like you haven't been able to have that opportunity, but if you are able to do a college visit, when you get on that campus, does this feel like a place I can call home for the next 4 years? Do make sure that they offer your major, look at the programs and things that they offer. What is their graduation rate? Make sure that they have a high percentage for graduating. What percentage of students find a job right after they graduate from that institution as well? Because I mean, that's something to definitely consider, is the big picture, the life after you graduate as well. But as Anthony said, money is a big factor, but also take into consideration those other things and weather. So, you know, we're from Florida. So going up north, are you going to be okay if it's cold? Like, are you used to the winter? So just, you know, some of those little things are something to consider as well.
Yes, and I would also say, you know, as it has been said, if you can visit the campus, because it's one thing to look at YouTube videos, it's one thing to look at the website and look at pictures, but when you actually step foot on the campus and you actually meet students that are there and you kind of hear from them, you know, what's their experience, it definitely gives you a different feel. And as Ms. Farrell said, you know, how does that school make you feel? Do you feel at home? You know, do you feel like you could spend the next 4 years or 6 years, depending on the program that you're in? Do you feel like you could really live on this campus, you know, for those next several years? You know, how do you really feel about that university?
Awesome. And Yvette has her hand up.
Also, do that university offer your major that you want to go into? Wouldn't that count too? Yeah, you want to make sure they have the, what if you decide on your major, you want to make sure that university is offering all that money, have your major there as well.
Thank you. And I have another question that was sent to me. Do admissions counselors provide advice on potential remedial summer courses? So I'm guessing if a student is admitted and I guess they didn't meet the requirements 100%, are they offered opportunity to, I guess, retake some classes or take some classes to build those skills up? So I wasn't sure if there was some background there.
I wouldn't As far as taking remedial courses, I'm not sure about that piece, but I do know the summer semester for those students who apply early, that's the key first. So if you apply like now and you don't meet the admission requirements, or if you meet most of them, and as it's been stated earlier, how they look at the student overall, if you miss maybe one or two things, you can kind of communicate with the admissions officer, and they may be able to offer you admission to the summer semester. So that it's really geared towards those students who are actively applying to the university and they're meeting most, if not all, of the requirements. So I'm not sure about the remedial piece, but I know for sure if you're at least meeting the requirements.
Awesome. Okay, so we have, okay, yeah. All right, and I do see another hand. And this will be our last question.
Yes, I have mine. Are you talking to me? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah. Old school is on the microphone once again. I didn't hear anybody saying that they are reaching out to corporations, for especially right here in Jacksonville. We are well known for technology and finance. We have one of the biggest finance companies in the world, and a lot of high tech companies here in Jacksonville. How many people are reaching out to them as far as writing you a ticket?
Mr. Scott, when you say writing you a ticket, are you asking about scholarships? Like for that organization to provide a scholarship?
I thought I was in a room with a lot of intellectual people. That's what it means. Ticket us. Yes. I'm a little appalled by that. Yes, that's what I mean.
Okay, so thank you for the clarification. So we do encourage our students. So anytime we come across as school counselors information about scholarships, most high school counselors have a online database where they list out scholarship opportunities, whether it's from local businesses, churches, organizations. So anything that comes across our desk, we make it accessible for our students. A lot of times that information comes from that organization or business to us. Just to be transparent, we don't have time to reach out to each organization or business in Jacksonville to ask if they're offering money, but a lot of times they take initiative and send it our way, and then we forward it over to our students.
All right, well, on that note, thank you to everyone. So if there are no more burning questions, at this time, I am going to put another link in the chat for our students and our parents. And if you could access that link, that is just a few questions about our event tonight. And as they're filling that out to our panelists, are there any last words that you would like to share, or any advice as they're completing that?
It's never too early to start your college search, your college research, looking for scholarships. It's never too early. So if you know that, college is an option, not saying you 100% know for sure you want to go right after you graduate, but if it's an option, I definitely think go ahead and get started now. Make sure you ask questions. There are a lot of resources available to you. You just need to reach out to the admissions at the institutions you're considering, to your school counselor, to your peers, to some of the recent graduates from your high school. So just make sure you're reaching out, asking questions, and getting started sooner than later.
So yes, I agree with that as well. And I would definitely say, as we talked about earlier, doing some self-discovery, thinking about where do you see yourself within the next couple of years, deciding on what you really want to do, and pace yourself, kind of write down goals and the vision that you have for yourself. and see what is the work that you need to put in today to get to where you want to be tomorrow. I know senior year can definitely be stressful. There's a lot going on with senior activities, in addition to taking your exams, in addition to trying to apply for college, in addition to trying to find finances for college. There's so much going on, but I would definitely say to pace yourself, because I know a lot of students, they get frustrated and things may not happen exactly the way they want it to, but definitely just be patient. Do the work, and in the end, it will pay off. And then last, I was going to also say is get a mentor, whether it's a counselor, whether it's someone that graduated from the institution that you're interested in attending, whether it's, like I said earlier, about a student who attended your high school and they've already graduated and they're at a university. Reach out and really build a connection, because we all got to where we are today because of someone else helping us. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Ask as many questions as possible. There's no dumb question. Believe me, there are so many people out here that are willing and able to help you along this journey, and know that you are not alone along this journey of your senior year.
Awesome. Zarek, any last words?
Consistency. Consistency, I believe, my counterpart said it all, but definitely want to be consistent. Like I said, just pace yourself and plan, but plan with efficiency as well as effectiveness. And the more you plan now, the less you have to do later.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are at 7:25. But I felt this was a very valuable session, and I just want to thank everyone for attending. This is we call it chapters on the Tale of Seven Bridges. So this is the first chapter of 7. So we will be having a follow-up discussion in another month on a different topic. So next month's topic will be all around VPK and early learning. So we're going to the other extreme. We're doing higher ed this month. And so next month we will be talking about voluntary pre-K programs, early learning, Success by 6 programs, pre-K vouchers, and all of that great stuff. So if you just keep your eyes open online for the event invitation, and join us back again in a month. So I also want to say thank you to our students who were on, because they were awesome. And also the parents. Kudos.
Felicity, if I might just say a few words.
Sure.
I really want to thank you for putting this on. It was great. This was great information, and we've recorded it so that it can be made available to other students. These are questions that a lot of times get skipped and need to be covered. I also want to thank our interns who are with us. I see Matthew Durden, Tia Smith. I even saw a few of our former interns coming and watching and participating. And then finally, I just want to thank the participants themselves. Thank you for being here and sharing your questions, but also for being who you are and paying attention. You'll become the leaders of tomorrow, thanks to your participation in things like this. So thank you.
And I did see a couple hands. Okay, they're down now. All right. Well, the link is there in the chat for that survey. Looks like the answers are coming in. So thank you for responding. Make sure there are 2 questions. So make sure you answer both questions, please, both parts. We want to get your feedback. So as we continue with these sessions, they get better and better. And we can only accomplish that if you let us know how your experience was tonight. So thank you everyone again, and we will see you next month.